T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Coach on Fire Radio. Hello everybody, and this is Carina on my show called Do You Dare. Haven't done a show for a while, but I've decided to interview all our wonderful hosts at Coach on Fire. And the first one we've got is Sarah Shakespeare. So you're going to just love her. But before we go and speak to Sarah, I just want to tell you a bit about me. I'm a healer, a writer, but most of all, I'm the Coach on Fire showrunner. So I do all the blurbs and the producing of the shows and coaching of the hosts, and of course get to know all of them, which that's the best part of all. And I've just written my first book, my first draft, and I'm editing that, and I'm busy doing some teaching memoirs on fear and migraines. And I'm also working on a membership site. So I'm doing a lot of other things besides Coach on Fire. But Coach on Fire is my primary fun stuff to do. So that's enough about me. Let's rather speak to Sarah and let's see what Sarah's up to. Hey Sarah, how are you doing?
Hi Carina, I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. How do you feel before we tell our listeners who you are, which I'm sure most people know anyway. But tell me, what does it feel like to be on the other side of the mic for a change?
It's actually really interesting because now I know how the guests are feeling in anticipation of what's coming, what questions are coming, everything that I want to say, everything that I want to share. So it's actually good being on this other side and waiting for what's coming. So it's good. I love it.
It's a little bit of excitement.
It is. It is.
So tell me, Sarah, tell our listeners, who is Sarah and what's your show name? And just tell us a bit about your show, about who you are, why you're doing your show.
Okay, well, my name's Sarah Shakespeare. If you don't follow me online already, there's lots of things that I talk about every single day online. I talk about motivation, mindset, talk about health and fitness, talk about success, ambition, everything that you need to do to put everything together to create a life that you love. So that's why my show is called Create a Life You Love, because I wanted to help people do everything that they need to do to get the life that they visualize for themselves on their terms. So that's why the guests that I have on my show always are there to help people. And what I try to do is have people on that have noteworthy things to say, because I want people on the other side to be writing things down and knowing that any guest that I ever have on my show is going to be somebody that helps you create a life you love. So anyone I speak to about coming onto the show, I always speak to them ahead of time, see what they're doing as far as their career path, their life experience, how they're helping people, what they want to do in the future, so that anyone listening can be really motivated by those guests that come on. So that's what's been a really great thing about my show, is that I've also been able to put those great people out there, but also been able to learn a lot from the guests that I've had. So that's why it's been a really great year for me on Coach on Fire, because not only have I felt like I've really, really got lots of people engaged in listening to that type of show, but also the people that I've met and the things that I've learned from these guests as well has been just up and beyond, more than I expected. So that's why it's been a great 52 weeks for me. So that's why I've really enjoyed that year. A bit about me. I've been in the health and fitness industry for 25 years. And when I first started out way in 1993, I think it was, I did personal training, and I did it at a time when no one really knew what a personal trainer was. They were asking me, did you get paid to work in a gym? You exercise with people, you go over their life choices, you go over their lifestyle, their nutrition. Do you really get paid for that? And I was like, yes, I do. I love what I'm doing. So I was really lucky from a young age to be able to do something that I really loved. And I've been able to help people. I've worked with all different age groups, all different types of people. And because I'm a people person, I've been able to get along with everybody that I've worked with. So it's been a really enjoyable 25 years for me to be doing that. And there's nowhere else that I'd rather be working in. The health and fitness industry is the best place for me to be, because that's what I love to do personally. So I've never had to start the day and think, oh, I hate this life that I'm living, or, oh, I don't like doing this, or, oh, I've got to work again today. I haven't. I've really enjoyed working with people and being part of that change that I see in them. And I've made some lifetime friends that I met, 20 years ago that I used to train, that I'm still friends with today. And they've implemented those things that I helped them with back then, and they're still living that life today. So that's one reason why it's really suited me to be in the health and fitness industry. I got more into coaching as the years went on, as I got more involved in people's life, further away from just their health and fitness side of things. And then that led me into doing more speaking. I've been speaking at different events in the last few years. Really, really enjoy speaking. And being a keynote speaker is what I like mainly, is to start the show, start the event, and motivate people from the beginning. And at that point, I talk about positive mindset, the glass is full attitude, talk about law of attraction, talk about self-care, looking after yourself, thinking big, dreaming big, and creating everything that you want to create. So that has been really, really important to me, and I've been really loving doing that part of my career as well. I'm also a best-selling author, and in the last year, I set my sights on doing 4 co-authored books, because the 5th book will be my own book. And I set my sights on doing that for 52 weeks. And I actually got the 4 books out in exactly 52 weeks. Between the first book and the 4th book, it was to the day, to the actual weekend of the first release, given that the 4th release came out that year later. So I've been really, really happy to get those books out. Those stories that I've written in those co-authored compilations has been different stories I've been asked about in my life. And because I've only been on social media for 2.5 years, I got asked a lot of different things about my life. So these books that I've had out now in the last year talk about different areas of my life that people don't have to ask about now. I just direct them to my books, and they're able to get the full story instead of maybe a Facebook post of the short version. They get the full story. The first book talks about why I'm so positive. The second book talks about my mum and dad's journey together through life and how that's affected me. The third book talks about my dedication to anything that I've set my mind to, why I'm disciplined, dedicated, and determined in those areas. And the 4th book that just came out now is talking about my immigration story when I moved from England to Canada. So that gives those are 4 big things in my life that are 4 really, really big parts of my life that I wanted to be able to share with everybody, have that full story out there in lots of detail. And of course, then I came on to, having a show and coming on to Coach on Fire, which was a really great opportunity that I got last May. And when I got a call from Michael to think about doing the show, it was a yes for me immediately, because I wanted to have my voice out there, as well as me being on stage speaking or doing different things in books. I wanted to be able to be on a show as well, so I could talk about different things week after week and have the opportunity to get my message out there, share the message, get that positive feeling out there to people, and get people adjusting their mindset to a bigger thing. So that's really why I started doing that. I'm married with 3 children, and I've been married for a long time, and I have children in a wide span of ages. So I have a 26-year-old, 15-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So I'm very, very versed in different age groups constantly. I'm always involved in different age group of kids throughout. So that really helps with my coaching side of my business, because I'm not just a single person that's read a few books about doing things. I've really experienced lots of different things in life. So I'm really able to connect with different people based on my own personal family position as well. So that's been a really great thing to share with people and use my experience in. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, Carina. And I know that's maybe the long version of everything. I've tried to condense it down and fitting everything in, but that's where I'm at, who I am. And I like it. I'm very happy to be getting into my 45th year now and liking what I'm seeing and what I'm doing.
Oh, it's actually a lot of fun. Exciting stuff coming up in your life, it sounds like, Sarah. But just
yes.
go a bit to your show, and then we'll chat a bit more about what else you're doing. How do you think your life's changed with the radio show? Do you think things would have been different if you hadn't started the show?
I think, no, you know what? I think with starting the show, it actually gave me a wider scope of popularity online. People listening to the show, I talk about the show. I've been able to really engage with wonderful people who've been on the guests on my show. And just being able to, I mean, if I had the opportunity to do the show every day, I would, because I love it that much. So I just do. I love talking to the guests. I love being on the air. I love listening back to the shows and learning and listening. And so I actually love it. So for me, I think it added something else to my repertoire, is what I'm going to say. I was already training, already coaching, doing the books, speaking. And then I thought, wow, to have a radio show as well and being able to get my message out there more and get people listening, get people following me and understanding who I am and what I love to do. I think having the show has really got people thinking and listening. And that's really what I wanted to, get from the show.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So what have you learned since, because you've been doing your show for a year, right? In fact, you've just had your anniversary. Congratulations. I think
Thank you.
You need some, congratulations in order, don't you think?
Thank you. Yeah, I'll take it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what have you learned? What have you learned in the year? What have you discovered? Give us some insights about your guests, about yourself. What have you learned? What have you discovered, rather?
Well, what I did from arranging to do the show and starting the show, I had about a month of thought of how I would put the show together. So when I put the show together, I tried to be ultra organized with getting the guests, the guest list ahead of time. I like to also make sure I never have a guest on the air with me that I haven't spoken to previously. So every guest, I will have spoken to them way at the beginning when we've talked about actually being on the show. I talk to them about what they do, what they offer, their life, everything they want to talk about. Then they get sent their questionnaire so we can talk about the show layout, the show description, how it's going to look, what are their best points they're going to talk about, what do they want to get across. And then a few days or a few weeks, depending on the schedule, before their actual show is on the air, I spend time talking to that guest ahead of time. So I always do a pre-interview with my guest that's coming on live, because I want to make sure that there's no boundaries that I cross, that I don't want them to feel uncomfortable about talking about or with. I never want a guest to be on the air with me when I ask them a question and they have a hesitation and go, well, I didn't really want to talk about that. I never want to have any embarrassment on the show where people are feeling like they're on the spot. I want it to run smoothly. I want people to be able to talk about everything they want to share. I want them to be prepared. I don't mean that it's rigged, that it's set in place, but my guests know what subjects we're going to cover, the things that I really want them to come out of as well. And when I do a pre-interview with them, some of my guests aren't particularly confident. So when I ask them, well, talk about this, they say to me, well, is that not just too much? Does that sound like I'm showing off? Does that sound like, I don't want to think that, I'm being too much. I'm saying, no, you're talking about your expertise. And I want you to be confident in that. And I want you to be able to talk about that. Give me the long answer. Give me your information and be confident in what you're speaking about. And then the show turns out wonderfully, because then the guest will talk to me after they've listened to their show and said, oh my goodness, you're right. I didn't seem overpowering. I didn't seem overconfident. I just seem to be talking about what I know about. So for me, when I think about starting the show, I always promise myself right from week one that I would always be organized with my guests. I would make sure that if they weren't ready, then I wouldn't have them on the show. And I have had some guests over the year that have had to reschedule, or they've not been able to do that certain day. I have filled in for them on that day and done the show myself if there's been any last minute changes. Or if they're not quite ready to be on the show, then I want to make sure that my listeners are getting the best guests and the best information. So I want to make sure that they are completely confident, ready and organized to be there. So I have been quite, dare I say, picky in who I've had on, because I wanted them always to be influential and always to feel like that hour that I'm spending with them, that it will run smoothly and easily throughout that. So that's what I've learned from the beginning, that I had to always be organized in putting the shows together. I've just done my 30th show yesterday, so I'm excited to have done that 30th show. And I've got all of my guests planned now up until the end of August. I think maybe even going into September, I've got some people lined up. I'm always